Welcome at Pizza and More. Everybody knows pizza is made from wheat flour. Of course, yes, this is the truth. We have different versions of wheat flour. We have here type 0, type 00, type uno, and so on. We have lots of different versions. But is there anything else available from which grain we can make our pizza? I'm Jürgen and we make together a pizza dough from Spelt. Spelt is a real all-round talent. Spelt has lots of vitamins and Spelt have lots of minerals. So it's really the grain with the most vitamins and with the most mineral. Spelt is a very historical grain, which is a very, very old kind. And it's, let's say, the mother of the wheat. And Spelt has so many different things for the digestion and so on. It's absolutely healthy. And it's very good for the beauty, because it's good for the hair, it's good for the skin, it's good for the nails. So it's a real beauty grain. The peel, which is around the corn itself, is very resistant against everything else, against everything which comes from the outside, which means it's really healthy, and the corn itself is free of all these bad things which came from outside, from our environment. But Spelt has two disadvantages. The first disadvantage is when we bake something, it dries out very quickly. So a pizza will not dry that quickly, because a pizza is something different. But if you make a bread from Spelt, here you have to do some precautions, otherwise the bread will be very dry after a very short period of time. To do something against it, in our pizza dough we add some olive oil. And the other thing is, even if Spelt has so much protein, it's really full of protein, but the quality of the protein in the Spelt is not that good as the protein in the wheat, which means the gluten structure from our Spelt is not that strong and not that stable and not of this good quality like it is with wheat, which means it breaks quicker. So during kneading and so on, and during the whole handling, we have to be a bit more careful. Otherwise we will break our gluten structure, and you know what happens when we make a pizza without any gluten. Of course, there is the possibility that we damage the pizza. But now I think let's start directly with creating the dough. All the ingredients are already here. Here are 500 grams of my spelt flour. This is spelt flour from type 630, and it has almost 14% protein, 13.8%. Then I have here 310 grams of very cold water, which will result in a hydration of 62%. I have here 0.9 grams of dry yeast. If you want to use fresh yeast, please use 2.7 grams. I have here 15 grams of fine sea salt, and as already said, I have 20 grams of olive oil. For creating the dough, we add in the first the water into our mixer, then the flour, then the yeast. Then we start mixing, we mix everything up, then we add our sea salt, and after a short while we add the olive oil. The whole time of kneading from our spelt dough will last not longer than 5 minutes. We will not knead until the window test is possible, because there is the danger that we break the gluten structure and we do a bit more often stretch and fold. My dough is now not ready kneaded, but I took it out of the machine. I kneaded it for 2 minutes, then I added the salt, then I added for additional 2 minutes, I added then the olive oil, and after all the olive oil was incorporated, I removed it. Now we shape a nice ball, and then we put it into a leavening box where we let it rest for 30 minutes, and then we make again stretch and fold. But for now, let's cover your hand with olive oil or with water, because then the dough does not stick that heavy to your fingers. I have here now water. For stretch and fold, we go from the left and from the right. We lift the dough, we stretch it and we fold it over. And we do this several times, and you see already after only a kneading time of 2 minutes how nice this gluten structure already is. So it's built far quicker than with wheat, but it's also not that strong than with wheat. Therefore we have to be very careful, otherwise we damage it, and then it's not possible anymore to make a nice pizza. For creating this nice ball, after we did the stretch and fold, I turn it always several times around. Then I go with the little fingers under, and then I pull the dough. I don't roll it, I pull it, so that we have here a nice strong surface. Then, as I said, I take here a dough ball box. I put the dough into this box, and I close the lid. When the dough is now in this box, we let it rise, as already said, for 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes we do the first time stretch and fold. The first 30 minutes are over, which means it's time to stretch and fold. By the way, I did not say we let the dough rest at room temperature at this time. To do now stretch and fold, it's important that you cover your fingers with water or with olive oil, and then we go here, we stretch the dough and we fold it over, and we do this around the circle. And this helps to strengthen our gluten structure. Now we cover the dough again, and we do this in 30 minutes once more. As said, this dough can rest now again 30 minutes at room temperature. Then we do this stretch and fold again, and then we put the dough into the fridge for around 12 hours. My dough had now the possibility to rest for around 11 hours, so the last 10 hours or so it was in the fridge. I took it now out, and now it's time to create the dough balls. Our total leavening time of our spelt dough will be around 24 hours. Here we have to recognize that we have to divert the total leavening by 2 for the bulk fermentation and then for the ball fermentation. Because, as I already said, the gluten structure of the spelt is not that strong, which means if we create our pizza balls directly after we kneaded the dough, it could be that due to this not that strong gluten structure, the dough balls go into the width instead into the height, and we want a bit to avoid this, and that's the reason why I said let's half it, so half time bulk fermentation and half time then the ball fermentation. One word to the cheese: if you use mozzarella which is in this salty water, then please remove it right now, or the whole day before, and take it out of this salty water, cut it into sticks, put it into a sieve to drain, and back into the fridge so that it's not bad until tomorrow. or until we bake the pizza, and then all this water can go out of our mozzarella, and then so we avoid to have all the water on our pizza when we bake it. The dough is now already on my counter, and we see it's not that strong as a normal dough from wheat flour, but it doesn't matter. I think it has a nice structure and it's well developed. Now we create here our 3 dough balls like we make it every time. I think it will be around 290, 295 or so grams of each ball. I use a scale to make each ball exactly the same. You also can simply divide it by 3 and that's it. And here you can now see my 3 pieces of dough. Each has 295 grams. And now we shape our pizza balls like we shape each pizza ball. It's exactly the same. We take the dough and we push all the dough under. So I push it always here under, and then it gets here a very strong and a nice surface. And this is exactly what we want, what's our goal. We can also take the dough between our fingers and then push it here under, and then we press the fingers together to close the dough ball at the bottom, and then it's ready to be put into the box. And this we are doing now for all the 3. And here we have now our 3 dough balls in the box. It's important that we close again the lid to protect our dough balls from drying out. Now directly we take the dough balls back into the fridge, and around 1 or 2 hours before we bake our pizza, we take it out of the fridge. This depends always on the room temperature. The warmer it is in the room, the shorter the time is before baking with room temperature, and the colder it is, the longer it could be. So if it's really a cold room, then it could be also the case that's enough to take the dough balls out 5 hours or 6 hours before baking. And as I said, the warmer it is, the shorter. So actually it's summer, it's relatively warm or it's hot. So I take it out, I think, 1.5 hours before baking. Waiting is at its end. My dough had now a leavening time in the fridge for around 10 hours. And now I took it out 2 hours ago. Now it's ready for baking. The electrical pizza oven is already preheated to 450 degrees. And I prepared all my ingredients or my toppings already. I have here a nice tomato sauce made from San Marzano tomatoes with a bit of sea salt. How I make the original Neapolitan tomato sauce. I made a video about it, and the link to this video, you will find it in the video description. Then I have here some mozzarella cheese, or in my case this is fior di latte. I have fresh basil, and I have olive oil and grana padano. Now you may think Jürgen is always doing only pizza margherita. Maybe he likes only margherita. No. I show always the margherita because margherita is the perfect pizza as a base, and then you can add all the other toppings you like, ham or salami or whatever. And now let's start. How we take out the dough balls and which is important, or what is important to consider, and how we do it exactly. I made also a video about this. I also will put a link to this video into the video description, but however I will comment a bit what I do so that you directly know what I do. The first what I do is I take some semolina and I put the semolina on top of the dough, and I put the semolina everywhere which attaches to something else, either to a different dough ball or to the box. I cover the spatula also with semolina, and then I release the pizza ball, and I'm I be very gentle here because I won't stress the dough when I take it out, otherwise it's impossible to form a nice pizza. If you see big air bubbles, you can directly open them, and then I lift the dough out and put it into the semolina bed. It's important to close now the lid of the box to avoid that the other dough balls get dry. Then I flip my pie several times, or my dough ball several times around in the semolina bed, and then I take it out. You can see this dough is, or this ball is very weak, but this is, as I said, due to the missing gluten structure, or to the also the not that good gluten structure we have with this kind of flour with spelt. But nevertheless, we will make now a nice pizza, and I shape the pizza like we shape every Neapolitan pizza. I press all the air from the center towards the crust. If I see big air bubbles, I open them directly, because the big air bubbles will directly burn in the oven. Here I'm very gentle not to damage the dough, because it's really very weak. And then we add the tomato sauce. Then is next fresh grated grana padano or Parmesan cheese. Some leaves of fresh basil. And then it's already time for the mozzarella, or in my case for the fior di latte. And the last topping we add on our margherita is some olive oil. And now it's already time for launch the pizza into the oven. For launching, I put some semolina onto the pizza peel. I lift the pizza, push the peel under, then I form the pizza to its final size. And now it's time for the oven. You can see the pizza already in the oven, and as I said, the oven is preheated to 450 degrees. And when you wonder why I did not show how to launch the pizza into the oven, it's pretty simple, I forgot to switch on the camera. But now I show you how to take it out, because the pizza is now ready. So here is this fantastic pizza, and now I add some more leaves of fresh basil, not only for decoration but also because of the nice taste of the fresh basil. And then I would say I cut directly this pizza. And here you can see how full of air this nice crust is. And it's really crispy.
It's time to taste. And yes, what should I say? I love pizza. I have to say it's again really absolutely delicious. But as I always say, the center does not really taste so much about the dough. The dough is now in the crust. And now I taste the crust. This dough, made from spelt flour, is super delicious. But it's for me relatively easy to say, because as always I like pizza, I love pizza, and it's hard to have a pizza which is not tasty. Okay, if I order somewhere a pizza, they are mostly not that tasty, but the pizzas I make, I like them. So I can say, please try also using spelt flour. It's super healthy, full of minerals, full of vitamins, not too hard to work. Okay, there are some things we have to consider, but overall
I think you can make it, you will master it. It's a fantastic result. If you like my video, I would be really happy if you would subscribe my channel, and then we see us in the next video. Ciao.